winning 90% of your new business because you have some sort of incredible value.
I'm going to take a bit of a different angle.
I've got a budget this big. I'm going to give it to you because you have a really killer plan.
You give a Red Bull to a turtle, what do you expect?
I think that's a dead turtle. So let's move on to...
E-Rig.
Cheers.
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 Does your current premium finance company lock you into long-term agreements? That's because they don't want you talking to us. At IFS, we win your business the good old-fashioned way, with customer service. I know you don't always have to use a premium finance company, but when you do, you should use IFS. Cheers.
Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Digital Insurance Pint Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Tom Reed, and I'm joined by my colleagues, Adam Mitchell, CEO of Mitch Insurance. Hey, Adam.
Hello.
Jeff Roy, CEO of Excalibur Insurance.
Welcome, Pinters.
And today we're pleased to be joined by Mohamed Hanini, who is the CEO of Koios Intelligence. Hey, Mohamed.
Hey, Tom. Hey, guys.
I forgot. Right, Steve isn't here. I didn't even notice Steve wasn't here.
No, he's over in the UK.
I thought we finally made the cuts to this podcast. It was bound to happen.
So, Mohamed, can you, for our viewers, give us a quick bio of both yourself and Koios Intelligence?
Yeah, quickly. Thanks, Tom. Mohamed Hanini, I'm the CTO and the CEO of Koios Intelligence. I would say I spent maybe the last 20 years working around operation research, machine learning, and statistics as well. Trying to apply those fields in real industry applications. I started my bachelor in actuarial science, and I made my master degree on mathematics and computational finance. It's a master led by Yoshua Bengio. He's a pioneer in machine learning. He got the Turing Prize. Where I met Charles. Charles, he's our senior vice president. We work together. We met 20 years ago at University of Montreal, and we led a couple of research projects about predicting the yield curve of interest rate. So it was mainly banking, I would say, banking applications. Then I worked at Ernst & Young, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and pension fund to mainly to build, I would say, prediction tools for financial instruments. Then in 2012, I decided to go back to school, and then 2017, I decided to focus on start building in the AI virtual assistant as a main component of the platform. Then, of course, focus more on the B2B side of the insurance, which is my strength.
This AI episode brought to you by the people at IFS Premium Finance. Thanks very much, guys. Appreciate the support. So, Mohamed, I did have a question here saying that we're aware there's a lot of supposed AI experts out there, and my question was going to be, how do we know that you guys are actually legit? I think part of that's actually been answered by your bio and the origin story of Koios, but maybe you can give us a bit more detail. How does of all the vendors out there that claim to have AI powered or have AI tools, how is a broker to know that Koios is really driven by real artificial intelligence?
I was trained. I prefer to say trained. I was trained to tackle a couple of, complex problems that help the foundation of Koios, and also getting the expertise based on the mistakes we made, based on all the exploration we made. We started in 2016, not ChatGPT in 2016. We don't see all the tools we have today. And in 2018, we were able to launch a life insurance product. It was our first product, but we chose to, to think about the voice solution and avoid building interfaces and UIs. And that, it came with a cost. And I think today we are very happy about that decision making, because it helped us to build like a kernel that enable us to mount a web and phone solution based on a corpus of data, and finally merge two supply chains or two virtual supply chains, whether the web and the phone, who historically don't talk to each other.
Why is your AI and language learning model better or more advanced than what's out there in the market right now?
Most of the large language models, whether ChatGPT, Gemini, and so on, they are actually a generic model trained with, trillions of parameters. And actually, the architecture of those models has a cost, which means for any question go under, we say, inference, because once we train the model, we don't actually answer the questions and training at the same time. So once we finalize the training phase, which usually can take days, depending on finally the required resources. But just to give you an idea, training ChatGPT is about I think the ChatGPT-4, it's about 40 millions. Training Gemini we can reach 50 millions US dollars to train those models. But what does it mean? Training those models means finally augmenting all those layers and training the algorithm with a huge amount of data. And once those models are optimized, then we can use them. So any user can input a question, for instance, let's pick a random user question, whether the color of the car impact the premium. So, you have the choice between using ChatGPT to answer your question, and maybe for your question or inference, you may pay 300 times more or even 500 times more than using a specialized model. So what we did, we incorporated large language models with our hybrid platform, and we said, what if we build like a controller to enable us to classify whether the request is complex or not? So if we have a complex request, which means 400 tokens, and which means a paragraph, we can enable those large language models, and it may be worth it because it's a very complex task, and we expect to have maybe 4, 5, 600 tokens, 600 words. Now, if we just want to have a simple answer, so why using that Ferrari when we just say, contrary to popular beliefs, the color of the car doesn't impact your insurance premium. So this, for that use case, we can just, make the decision and train specialized model with the very, small amount of parameters. However, the architecture is really the same. So we are all using transformer-based architecture. So the single difference is about how much are we willing to pay to train those models with all the amount of data.
Basically, what you're saying in layman's terms, Mohamed, is instead of having a great big model that's taken tens of $millions, you're getting more specific about insurance. You've got tighter and more information focused around insurance, so to be smarter and it's cheaper to train. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, exactly. And the main difference is also we are able to fix the answer, which means don't necessarily generate randomly the answer. So as the insurance industry is very compliant. So you don't want to let a virtual assistant or AI virtual assistant managing your own answers. Like, what is your mission? What is your vision? So if we use like like ChatGPT up the shell, of course, you may risk your brand, because this is something that you can't control. It's like a generative model, and so the difference between what we built and the generative models that we can control the answer of the virtual assistant and make sure that those answers are aligned with what our clients expect. And we can also, for internal tasks, enable like a heavier or larger model to make sure we how can I say, gather complex requests. So we have both. We have a hybrid platform to answer to both problems.
What are some of the products or use case examples that Koios has already in market of how are brokers using it to augment their day?
Well, the same way we train like a broker, we train the virtual assistant on the sales process, on many after sales process, and most of our customers are using it as a support, as a virtual assistant that support their sales team. So, for instance, to commercialize personalized commercialized products, so customers can just share their data through the virtual assistant through Olivo, our platform. So the Olivo platform can collect most of the data that lead to a premium, and then trigger the handoff. So the broker, once they talk to the client to bind the policy, they already, how can I say, get rid to maybe 80% or 90% of the data. So what we have here, we have a virtual assistant that can collect all the data and push it and share it with the broker. And of course, we synchronize our solution with most of the known BMS in the market. So we have a synchronization with the applied rating servers, Epic as well. We integrated our solution with the SDK, so all the policy updates are synchronized as well. So we launched about without any exaggeration, we launched about maybe 100 applications in the market in production. Whether for personal lines, we launched the aviation a year ago. We even have now, it's been now 3 months, we finalized the phone solution, so you can through your phone get a quote or make any policy update through your phone.
Let me just kind of like paraphrase what I'm hearing just for our listeners. So I call it digital virtual assistant, DVR. Depends what you call it, an assistant. It does act like a chatbot off your website, and it's not a chatbot. It's a chatbot on steroids. It's got a large learning language model. It can get information. It can provide a quote, and it interacts with the BMS for the different brokers, and you have that for personal lines products, home auto, you have life products, you have commercial products, correct? And then you can also connect that system into a telephone that will actually talk and I believe capture data and put it into a BMS.
Yeah, that's correct. And it's in production. So we have many customers are using it.
Yeah. So let me jump in here. So I had recently at Amplify, I was having coffee with a large Western Canadian brokerage, and they were talking about their digital marketing team that was being challenged to dramatically grow its capacity and volume that it was writing. And they were, one of the things they told me is that they were trying to get, so when they had digital leads come through, which they had a lot, right? There's large brokerage, good SEO, lots of leads, that they were trying to get their digital contact center to connect with their customers within a minute of having those leads come in. And they were currently at 4 minutes, and they were having trouble adding staff. And so we talked about maybe using Alivo to sort of instantly call this customer back, right? So one of the interesting things about AI and Alivo in general is that it's super flexible, can do a million different things. The point is to find something that is actually a business problem that you want to solve, right? So these guys had a business problem that they wanted to solve, and Alivo was able to step in and say, right, you don't have enough staff. Your staff aren't able to call people back at the right time because it's a contact center. You have finite limits. Koios can step in, Alivo can step in, I should say, and call those people back, take all the data, and then pass it over to a human. Right. So that's one specific use case. But one of the complicated things about AI and trying to describe it is that, well, what does it do? Well, it does a lot. You have to find what those business needs are and then apply it to those business needs.
So here we went through, if we compare I would say the standards, the standard processes we have in the industry, actually, once we want to make any automation, we implement a UI form in the website to whether, how can I say, have new leads or manage the existing clients, and correct me if I'm wrong. So we just said, what if we just, how can I say, enhance that experience and offer to the whether the new customer or existing customer a human-like interaction to answer their questions. And what we see based now on the result, because the good news today, we have data and we see that the dominant statistic is the 100 completion rate. So on most of our processes, I would say the predominant number is the 100% completion rate. And frankly, we were even surprised because we didn't expect that we're going to have over 50% of the transaction are about 100% completion rate. There is another, I would say, wrong assumption we made when we started the company. We thought that we're gonna target the millennials, and almost 8 years later, we realized that over 50% of the users are, I think that their age is over 47 years. So they are 47 years old. So I think today, and thanks to ChatGPT, I believe that the tool helped us a lot to democratize that way of interaction. I really think that users and customer now expect that kind of let's say experience.
So that's a great point about ChatGPT sort of democratizing AI, if you will, because if you go back 18 months, 24 months, like the use of AI was not a thing, right? I mean, 99% of people, if they think of AI, they thought of movies, Skynet, war games, those kinds of things. But now ChatGPT is out there. Students are using it, fully grown adults are using it. It's being implemented in businesses all over the place. So it's just sort of seeing this explosion of interest, which makes people open to things, right? And but I want to pull this back to sort of the specific benefits that Koios and Alivo are bringing to the market. So you've got a bunch of clients that are more or less across the country now. Can you is there a common theme in why your clients have purchased this tool?
Very good question. So most of the challenging part of the operation of our clients is the human part, the adoption, and also the seasonality, the fact that the insurance industry is actually so there are many peaks within the year, and it's very hard to manage the hiring and what they expected when they bought or subscribe to the tool is to finally reduce those peaks and streamline their operations. That's what they expected, and frankly, they didn't necessarily expect that the platform will, how can I say, manage that amount of a completion rate. And now we have real results. We have thousands and thousands of transactions, and through those transactions, we can see that customers are totally ready to share their information and go through the whole process without, let's say, even asking to talk to a human. We have now real statistics, and so the average of the handover is about is between 2 and 5%. It's been 2 and 4%, which leads us to 3% statistic about the handover asking for a broker.
So let me just clarify that. So what you're saying is, if 100 people are dealing with the Alivo virtual assistant on the phone, only 3 of those 100 actually transfer over to an agent for whatever reason.
Yeah, and it's incredible. It's especially especially for our clients who built the after sales processes as well. And we had, I can't disclose we have a very large broker, one of the largest broker in Canada as a client. We started building the quotation process, and we realized that we got 12% of a handover when let's say the average of our clients is about 3% handover. And we already anticipated that issue, and we talked to the client. We told him, look, we don't want to push to have the after sales processes, but we think that, or we believe that you will have a higher handover, and that was that. I mean, finally, we decided to implement the after sales process as well. And I was talking about even quote and bind. It's really quote and bind product with one of the largest broker in Canada. So at the end of the day, we have now the statistics. It's not like we're not pitching something that doesn't exist. So we have now all the data that explain those.
So of 100 phone calls that come into an organization for the sales line, not cherry picked, fed into Alivo, what was that? So 13% kick out. So 85% somewhere in there is being quote bind and issued, of like only a few, or 13% are getting kicked out back to an agent.
Among all the transaction, we have in average 3% who ask for a handover. I would like to talk to an agent. Why? Because we have all the pre-sales and after-sales processes. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't have abandon. If we want to talk about the conversion rate as an average, so we get between 65 and 70% of a completion rate, which means that the average of the completion is about 65 or 68%. Now we have over 50% of the users complete 100% the process.
Okay. Sorry, let me just interject there. When you talk about completion rate, you're talking about the percentage of the data that the customer has given to the virtual assistant, yeah?
Exactly. So through let's say the whole quotation process. So the 100% completion rate means we push all the data to applied rating service and they get 3 premiums at minimum. So we have over 50% of the users who get that how can I say who get to the end and complete the full process.
So it's interesting because so just to sort of play that back. So what I'm hearing is about half of the people who go through the potential clients who go through this process with Alivo on the phone, about half of them go all the way through. And then if you look at the total amount of data that's being captured by Alivo, by the AI, and then pushed over to Epic, it's about 60%, I think you said, right?
All the data can go to Epic. All the data, even the partial leads. What I'm trying to say, the 65% is about the average, which means that we should count the 100% completion rate and maybe the ones who, maybe abandon at 70%, the ones who abandon at 20%, and then we make a kind of ugly mean or expectation, and that lead to between 65 and 70%, depending on also the process in itself, whether we talk about sales or after sales. But for sales process, it's about 65, 67%.
So if you think, where I was going with this, if you think of it this way, so let's say it's 65%, which is about 2/3, give or take. And we know this is a distribution and that's just an average, but whatever, about 2/3. So essentially what I hear, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that of the amount of sort of grunt data collecting work that a broker has to go through with the customer normally, 2/3 of that is now being done with Koios' clients. 2/3 of that grunt work is being done by Alivo.
Exactly. I think the most important part, we should think about the customer. The customer don't want to wait anymore. So the customer don't wait anymore. They push the data, whether for sales or after sales, they push their request to the broker. Then, of course, for after sales, we may need to communicate again with them. But as a customer, I don't want to wait anymore to submit my request.
What's the drop-off rate conversely? I wasn't clear, some people are getting passed over. How many people are dropping off? Just said, hey, this chat's not they can type it in or they can use their voice off the website. They can use their voice over the phone. How many people get frustrated and bail? Do you have any stats on that, the converse side? Or is that something you can measure?
I mean, generic stats or our own statistics?
Well, both. If you got your own stats or if you have generic, what the industry is for drop off and what your stats are, that would be awesome.
I mean, the good part that we have, so we monitor each single interaction. So we have statistics about where exactly the drop off, the abandon rate, and in which question, and we have all those statistics for each client. So we have each client can monitor in real time all the data of the user. So I can share with you for each client, let's say where exactly the abandon and how can I say with statistic and so on. So frankly, the industry we saw a lot of bias because we saw a lot of generic, statistics for about cost reduction. But I really think that in insurance, we really need to have concrete statistics, and we have concrete statistics. So we have about, without any exaggeration, 40 metrics. So we have 40 metrics for each, let's say, business line.
So 40 or 14?
No, 40. Yeah, 40. So because you can see the user who provide only their emails, their phone number. So for each state of the conversation, we can filter and see the progress, and especially where exactly, I mean, the statistics of the abundance for each business lines.
Okay, so what's your abandonment, I guess, for auto and home insurance, just generically, not getting granular, but kind of do you have a ballpark? Like you finding 35-40% abandoning is kind of a number that's fairly typical. What are you finding with your software?
I mean, if we count only the qualified, I would say the qualified lead, because I don't know if one visitor reached the virtual assistant and leave without even providing an information, we should count it. So if we clean the data, the abandon rate is about, I prefer to say, the abandon rate is about 20%. If we clean the data, because we don't know if we have not a spy, but a user who just want to test and leave. So he didn't provide any information. So
do you find 20%? You add 20% for people playing around, not serious, like people just kind of not serious about it.
To be honest, it depends on the, how can I say, the source of the lead, because our customer are not just putting naively the virtual assistant in their website. They implemented different strategy to, how can I say, to embed, for instance, the virtual assistant in a landing page, to embed it to like in an aggregator, so on Facebook. So it depends on, so we have an instance that manage many entry points. So the virtual assistant is just an instance, but we can manage 20 entry points. So we can have 20 interfaces who lead to the backend, to the, how can I say, to the virtual assistant. So to be specific, depends from where it comes the lead. So on Facebook, we have a specific statistic on, with Google Ads, we have a specific statistic, and all those statistics are displayed in a dashboard.
Yeah. So basically you have stats like I've got, Adam's got the Fortis engine. We got WebPrize, the enterprise version of it. Basically, we can set up create a rating experience for every marketing plan to track it. You do that obviously with your system. You can try where things are falling off, which things are working, etc. So that's good to know. That's an advantage for some people that aren't tracking. A lot of people can't track different marketing plans. That all goes into the same bucket, and they can't tell what source is converting better than others. So that's interesting that way.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about the call center. We have a call center solution for powered by a virtual assistant for the broker. So in that modern call center, we can see all the transactions based on the specific channel. So we can see the transaction of the web. We can see the transaction through the, how can I say, that came through the SMS. We can see the transaction that came through the phone. And of course, we can have different filters and different statistics based on the channel we talk about.
Just curious, everybody's big on the standards using CZO. Do you need to use the CZO standards to be able to move data between your system and the BMS and carriers?
Frankly, we just used to connect with different, I would say, BMS providers or Guidewire. So we just use standard XML protocols, and we implemented the middleware that enable us to, how can I say, whether reach applied rating service or reach Guidewire. It's we call it adapter. So we implemented an adapter that enable us to translate our JSON payload to an XML and vice versa, and that's it. So
your adapt module allows you to translate between standards. You've already built that. And is it smart enough to learn, like using AI? So when things get broken, the model's smart enough to say, hey, this company changed their portal. They've got a new variable. We need to do something. Is your system smart enough to learn on the fly? Or do you have to manually and get involved with it?
I mean, especially when it comes to manage transactions, our internal tools help us to build those generic templates, XML templates, but once they are built, they are static. We don't use AI anymore, but the AI helps us to build those tools. However, we of course, we need to go through the quality assurance, and we end up finally having an XML protocol as any XML protocol. So there are statistics in the last, like in the last phase, they are just static. Sorry, they are static files, XML files, which helps us to finally manage any field. So we can even match with the carrier premium, because and that's how we made an integration without any exaggeration for Policy Center and Producer Engage within a week.
Interesting. So, and I'm aware. So let's keep talking about this sort of system-to-system connectivity, because that's obviously a special thing to me. And Jeff opened the door on the standards side, right? Like we know currently there's a lot of work going on in commercial standards, right? And I know that there's, we're kind of scratching the surface on that front. And I believe, Mohamed, that you guys, with your connections to Epic and to Guidewire, you're actually starting to get into the space of moving data back and forth, sort of in a sense without an API. Can you maybe talk a bit more about how that works?
We expanded our platform, the broker platform, to a carrier application, and we try to make a connection between the brokers and the underwriters for the commercial line. So then, just to give you a use case, very simple use case, Koios as a company needs a commercial insurance, like liability insurance. So the idea is to get supported by AI, a conversational AI platform to share the data, ask any question about about the insurance product in itself, and once the I would say the information are gathered by the broker through the virtual assistant, then the broker can really push the virtual assistant to the underwriter. So then we don't need necessarily we don't need any more how can I say to connect to any API, because we built a kind of bridge between the broker application and the underwriter application.
Yeah, no, I think I get it. Like I think what I hear you saying is that, because your virtual assistant sits on Epic, the broker is talking to his client, they get all the data, put it into the virtual assistant, that then shoots it over to call it its twin or its cousin or whatever that's sitting on the carrier side, receives the data, shoves it into Guidewire, gets the output, pushes it back.
Yeah,
right. So
exactly.
it's the virtual agent talking to itself essentially, as opposed to data going back across some CSIO standards based API, which is really interesting, and we'll see where this goes. But it is quite intriguing that there's opportunities to do things in theory way quicker than trying to build out the APIs the way that they were built out on personal lines, which took 20 years and we're still not done.
So we have a data manipulation in the 3 layers. So we have the first layer would be the customer layer, the second layer would be the broker layer, and the third layer is about the underwriter layer. I mean systems. So we try to, how can I say, create a common denominator, build like a virtual assistant that support those three stakeholders, and of course. Now the question, who's gonna be the administrator? We think that the broker should keep the relationship with the customer, and that's why for the brokerage use case, the broker will be the administrator of the platform. Now with some carriers, we are now talking about how can I say, managing their own specific questions. So on Producer Engage, expose the virtual assistant so the brokers can just handle most of the operations through the virtual assistant, so they can get a specific answer, whether for underwriting or policy updates.
So the carrier could actually manage their underwriting questions without having to sort of then to go through the whole process of pushing that out. They would just have the VA handles on their end. It propagates back to the broker side, and then it's done. Wow.
There's not a lot of people doing what you're doing. Is there anybody else? Like, who's your competition?
Back then, Pronav, but Pronav is a partner now. So back then, Pronav is a partner. And frankly, I hate saying that we don't have a competition, because it's not good. It means like there is no market when you say you don't have a competitor. But I mean, we are really dedicated in the insurance. There are like many, I would say, providers who went horizontally and built a chatbot for financial, health, and so on, insurance. But as a virtual assistant for like insurance industry, who's managing quotation, all the like dedicated sales and after sales processes. I frankly, in Canada, I'm not sure. I don't know. Back then, Pronav, but Pronav is not in that area anymore. So you are more, I would say, updated than I do.
All right. So, I mean, Mohamed, trying to wrap here a bit with a prediction. How rapidly do you forecast the adoption of AI is going to happen in the brokerage space, and where do you think there's going to be gaps between brokers that use AI and brokers not using it?
I think we are, in fact, in general, we were using AI for like now more than a decade through Facebook, Google, and so on. They launched AI tools. It's been now even over 20 years. And with maybe OpenAI and ChatGPT, I mean, those companies are just democratized the use of the AI, while Google kept their AI secrets and their AI use without necessarily, how can I say, sharing with the customers, because how can I say, it was kind of niche, I would say their secret sauce. So coming back to your question, Adam, we really think that within the next 2 years, I would say a good part of the brokers will jump, because actually it's not about the brokers or it's not about us, it's about the customers. We just need to predict the customer use, and we have here a lot of finally statistics in that sense. We just need to know what would be the new behavior of interaction regarding the customers.
But yeah, there's definitely, once that consumer decides to change their approach, things happen really fast after that.
And I think the chatbots had and have a very bad reputation about the two main aspects. First of all, most of the providers start building a partial user experience. And when you build like a partial user experience, people get frustrated because they have an idea, they want to reach a service and they don't find the service. They start, okay, talk to an agent, because they know that, okay, the service in itself doesn't exist. So people just jump and push the service or the agent button. This is the first, how can I say, I think the first, or one of the main frustration, a reason for customers. And I think the second reason is about usually interacting with decision tree chatbots. So it's like, so their models are extremely weak. As soon as you ask a question, I'm sorry, I can't handle that request. And so customer I would say, lose the trust of interacting with the technology. But it's about trust. Finally, if you think that your time your 10 minutes investment will lead to a failure, then you jump. How can I say? Or you prefer to trigger a human conversation because you know already that your interaction will fail. Now the good news with the insurance that we have already standard products, like for auto, home, and most of the standard products. We have processes. We have many standards, so we really can handle. I don't want to say all the interaction, but huge part of the interaction based on the virtual assistant. It doesn't mean that we're gonna know. I really think that brokers will how can I say, stay forever. However, we can just enable them with the support, with the virtual support, because frankly, they are not engaged at all to collect personal information, vehicle information. Imagine who imagines once that in a grocery stores we will have one person managing many cashiers.
Is retention important to your brokerage? Of course it is. That's why at IFS, we have a cancellation prevention process. Want more details? Give us a call. I know you don't always use a premium finance company, but when you do, you should use IFS. Cheers.